Hello.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Drummers Education Connection. We are here live once again. My good friends Bart Robley in Fullerton, California, or he moved. Where'd you move?
Ontario.
California.
Yeah.
Rick Stojak down in San Diego at the Rick Stojak Drum Studio, and Trip Ritter from Tucson, Arizona.
Oh,
What's happening, guys? Good to see
Chip
you once
ahoy.
again.
And
Our
Rick
guest-
is muted.
Yeah,
There's Rick. Rick's unmuted.
How's that?
That's better.
Perfect.
Now we can hear you. All the
Hi,
important things you got to say. And our guest today is an industry person. His name is Dan Shinder. For those of you who don't know Dan personally, I'm pretty sure you know about what he does. Dan created Drum Talk TV, which is a massive worldwide media company with huge reach all over the world. They share drumming content related to education, performance, funny stuff, all different stuff related to drumming. And he also is the CEO of a marketing company called Advanced. It's called Advanced Social Marketing, and he runs a course called Social Media on Steroids, which I have actually taken sort of a light version of that course, and it was super duper informative. I learned a ton about social media and marketing and how to present myself to the world, which is why I am standing here today in front of you. Dan, welcome to the show. We're so happy to have you, man.
thank you very much. I'm honored to be here. I know you guys are 65 episodes in. That is really impressive. That's great, because I know that this is a lot of work. And more importantly than that, just the purpose that you guys put it together for when it comes to being drumming education authors, teachers, but also performing musicians. That's a great triad there. Those are some wonderful qualities. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure, man.
Thanks, Dan.
We all know you from different areas or different ways, and we've talked about you before, and we want to have you on the show for quite a while. So we're really happy you could be here.
Yeah, I met Chip in jail, actually.
Jail or prison? Jail or prison?
It was jail. We didn't make it to prison.
You didn't make it to prison. Okay, cool.
Thing.
Chip was the one sitting quietly in the corner, and you thought, "Oh, that's the guy I want to connect with. He's the one no one's messing with."
No, that's how they met. I was sitting in the corner crying. They didn't know I was there. I was crying in the corner.
Dan, we got a lot that we want to ask you about today. There's so much to talk about in regards to Drum Talk TV and also your marketing course. But before we get to any of that, I have to ask you, because you sent your bio and it said when you were 15 years old, you were touring, opening for Blue Oyster Cult and Styx and other really big bands like that. How the heck did that happen when you were 15 years old?
I had amazing parents who supported me from the time at 6.5 or something. I said I wanted to play drums because my older cousin had a drum set and was a drummer, and I was being exposed to everything that came out in 1968. So that gives you some context to age, time, and all that. Led Zeppelin 1 just blew my mind as a 6.5-year-old, and my cousin played drums and got turned on to all this music then. So I told my parents I want to play drums enough times that they got me a practice pad and then got me lessons, and I got my first drum set for my 7th birthday. So fast forward, I played drums through at 14, I had already been playing in Tuesday night jazz band in middle school, orchestra, concert band. Loved that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just loved it. Great experiences for a kid. But I grew up playing to my favorite music. When I was a kid, music wasn't segregated by channels. The genres were all on one channel. So I grew up in LA. I know some of you guys are out there. There was a AM station called 93 KHJ, and they played everything. You'd hear Neil Diamond, Barbra Streisand, Steppenwolf, Led Zeppelin, Rod Stewart, the Beatles, and then something else, Kool and the Gang, Sly and the Family Stone. Everything was in one place. So for a little kid not exposed to the music other than being played in my house, which, by the way, grew up listening to Hal Blaine because my parents were huge Simon and Garfunkel fans, Fifth Dimension fans. My dad more into also the Yardbirds, Zeppelin when they came out, Pink Floyd, Jethro Tull, stuff like that. So I never thought of being a drummer for a living. And I was really good. I've been told I was pretty good at 14. And I wanted to be the next Jacques Cousteau. I wanted to be a scientist, an oceanographer.
Wow.
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah, that was my path. I was obsessed with Jacques Cousteau specials. I got some artistic traits from my mother. I used to draft cross sections of submersibles, had it all figured out where they were going to sleep, where's the ballast, where's the food, the controls. I mean, I was so into it, man. And then in 1977, my dad took me to my first concert to see Led Zeppelin. And when my hearing came back a few days later, by the third song, the enormous light bulb went on above my head. And I thought, you mean like that could be a job? So after I got home and the hearing came back, I told my parents, they said, I don't want to be an oceanographer anymore. And my mom said, and my first initials are DR, because of course, a young Jewish boy with the first initials DR would be some sort of doctor, right? And my mom said, Kurt, what do you want to be? And I said, I want to be a professional drummer like John Bonham and Buddy Rich. So after we hit my mom with the paddles and she woke up, my parents were very supportive. And never said, no, you gotta. I didn't grow up in a home where you had to do this or you had to do that. I mean, I had to make my bed and eat and be home at a certain time. But exactly 1 year later, my mom comes to me and she says, I found out that there's this singing group that's going on tour and their drummer is leaving. Do you want to audition? There's an audition going on. And I said, yeah, okay. And the drummer that was leaving, I don't know if anyone here is, maybe Rick knows. Rick, you're in San Diego, right?
Yes.
Do you know who Lohman and Barkley were?
No, I don't.
They were a radio talk show team, and the drummer was Al Lohman's son, Al Lohman Jr. Okay. So I told my mom, yeah, let's go. So we go to this. I grew up in the West San Fernando Valley. So this is the top of Mulholland overlooking the valley. And it was a big church. They had a beautiful auditorium. That's where they were rehearsing the tour. So my mom takes me there, and I had no idea what to expect or what was going on. We're the only two people there besides the whole thing rehearsing. So we're sitting in the audience like 40 rows back, right? There's the stage. They start rehearsing, and they're playing. So mind you, at the time, I'm playing Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Jethro Tull, ELP, Yes, Genesis, Gentle Giant. That's what I'm into musically at home, right? And they're playing Neil Diamond and Linda Ronstadt, ABBA. And I lean over to my mom and I said, Mom, I don't want to play this kind of music. And she spun around in her chair and she grabbed me and shook me. And with every syllable, she said, they're going to pay you to see the country playing drums. Your father and I would never be able to afford to send you on a trip like this. Thought you wanted to be a professional musician. Wow. And she said, what difference does it make what kind of music it is? I thought, yeah, what difference? Because I remembered growing up with the headphones on, all those different styles, right?
All right.
Said, yeah, okay, yeah. So now I got my head around it. They finish rehearsing, and the director comes over and sits in the row in front of us. He turns around and he says, so Danny, what'd you think? And I lied. I said, that's great. Wow. And they were great. It just wasn't what I was into, you know?
Right.
And he said, do you think you can do that? And I said, yeah, I think so. He said, what kind of stuff are you doing now? I told him I'm in Tuesday Night Jazz Band. I'm in orchestra, first chair drummer. I'm in concert band, first chair drummer. And I play, and I named all those bands. He says, yeah, I don't think this will be a problem for you. So he asked my mom if I could go, and she asked him all the right questions and said, I got to talk to my husband. And my parents grilled me and said, do you want to go? Because once you leave, they're not turning around. You know, this is it. And so they said I could go, and I toured the U.S. from L.A. to Long Island, back a different way, opening for, like Jeremy said, those bands at state fairs, county fairs, Styx. This is 1978. So think of where those bands were at that time. Heart, Styx, Blue Oyster Cult, Seals and Crofts at New York State Fair. That was great because my parents loved them. And it was amazing. And it was like, here's the thing. I came back the day before high school started, 10th grade. Back in my day, high school started in 10th grade. So I'm standing in line to choose my classes thinking, what am I here for? What am I
Yeah.
here for? I just got paid to see the country play me, and what am I here for? And that was really difficult. And I asked my parents, they said, can I take the high school equivalency test? And my mom said, it's high school, it's new, just try it out. That next summer, guess what? They asked me back. I went on tour again. Same outfit. And by this time, I'm in another band already, and I had to take a break to go on that tour. And so my mom says, it's 11th grade. You're halfway through. Just give it a chance. I asked her the same question right before 12th grade started. She said, it's your last year. What are you going to bail now?
Right.
And I knew that was her plan from the beginning.
Right.
But that's what that whole 15-year-old going on tour.
Wow.
For
What
real
an
bands.
Did you get to meet any of those drummers you opened up for? And were they cool?
Yeah, absolutely. And the neatest experience, that was a great question, Chip, because I did have a really interesting experience. Played at the Iowa State Fair, and the stage we played on was like, I don't know, parallel. It was like different stages in this big giant park thing. So we played, and then over there's the Osmond stage. So it's the middle of summer, Iowa, finished playing, drenched, hot. All I could think of is something to drink. So I start walking. I tell everyone, I'll be right back. I start walking across this long lawn, and I see a Pepsi stand way in the distance. So I'm thinking, I need something cold. But I hear this guy, hey, kid, drummer boy. And I turn around. There's this big kind of overweight guy, like waving his fist and yelling. I'm like, uh-oh, I'm all alone. Like no one's with me. I get scared. So I start running, and like I picture it in slow motion in a memory. If I could just make it to the Pepsi stand, and I do. So I reach the counter. I'm like, God, I'd like a. And the guy's like, kid, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I want a Pepsi. I want a Pepsi. And then this guy slams against the counter. He's trying to catch his breath. He says, kid, you're a fast runner, but you're an even better drummer. And he holds his hand out and he says, I'm Sam Foster, the drummer for the Osmonds. And I was like, whoa, I thought this was some creep that wanted to kidnap me or something. He says, get a load of this, guys. Drummers like to geek out on gear, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
So 1978, he says, I have the first 2 Yamaha drum sets to hit the United States.
No way.
Yeah, and I'm thinking
really?
in my head, okay, so this idiot just blew his cover. He's not Sam Foster. He doesn't play with the Osmonds because Yamaha doesn't make drums. I raced motocross. They don't make drums.
Right. They make motorcycles.
Yeah. He had the first 2 sets. One was in his dressing room. One was on the stage. He said, can you be backstage at 3:00? And I'm like, I'm just agreeing. Like I didn't ask. Yeah, I'll be there. He gives me this card and says, give this to the security guard. I say, okay. So I go, I tell the director, hey, I got invited, Oh, and by the way, they're going to hook us up with tickets. We all get to go to the show. We're going anyways, but we get like prime seats, all this stuff. And I went, I gave the card to the security guard, takes me to his dressing room, big outdoor stage. So it's those exterior doors to go into a private room. And there he's got a Yamaha drum set, like out of walnut or teakwood, just beautiful. I'm like, whoa,
Nice.
This is for real. And so we're just talking drums. And then he says, sit down and play something. I'm like, all shy. I'm an introvert, by the way, in case you couldn't tell.
Yeah, I can tell. Yeah.
I was really shy. And I'm like, and he's like, no, man, play. So I do some stuff. He goes, okay, wait, now play. Shh. Turns on metronome. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like sweating bullets. It's Sam Foster, professional drummer, played with the Osmonds for years. But it was an amazing experience. I tell you, we're not supposed to have regrets in life.
Right.
One thing I guess I could sort of compare to that is he gave me his phone number. I put it in my little black phone book, and I never called him. And I looked him up after I started Drum Talk TV, and he had passed away. And it reaches back to what you covered on a recent episode about imposter syndrome. I didn't know enough to develop imposter syndrome. I've been talking all morning. Sorry. I mean, believe me, I was pretty sure I was the shit. So I didn't have imposter syndrome. But I did feel this, like that Sam Foster, I'm just Danny Shinder on my first tour. I'm 15.
Right.
And I never had if I could say it, the gonads to call him. And I felt even more horrible. I couldn't wait to get a hold of him. I started drum talking. I'm going to call that guy. Always telling the story. I'm going to call that guy. And I looked him up to find his number, looked online, and found that he had passed away. And it just broke my heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
still a really beautiful story, you know?
That is a beautiful story.
Yeah.
I have a question, Dan, and it's
oh, I'm sorry, we're out of time. No,
that's okay. Gotta go. Thanks, Dan. Good night. And actually, it's a question. It's a statement and a question, I think, in one. One of the things that you talked about was when you went on the audition, you're sitting there in the church and you're listening.
Oh, I didn't even play, by the way. I never played.
I
had 4 rehearsals before we left. I left that part out.
Well, I think when you say, well, I'm in jazz band and this and that and everything, they probably just, okay, you know, if he's the only one that showed up, he obviously has enough nerve to do it. But when you, we
were doing it on different days. I think they did audition other people.
Oh, okay.
The day my mom arranged for us to go. Yeah, but I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bart.
No, that's okay. That's okay, Dan. So this is the thing. Like you didn't want to do it, and you're like, Mom, I don't like this music. You know, this is not my cup of tea. I want to play Bonham. I want to play, you know, I want to play Genesis. I want to be the next Phil Collins. But your mom talked you into it, and there's a lot. I run into this with musicians, students all the time, where they're like, it's not really my cup of tea. I don't know that I want to go play at Disneyland, or I don't know that I want to go do this. I'm like, no, you don't understand. You're not always going to like the music that you play,
but you should always like playing.
You should always like playing. And like you said, you're playing music. That's number one. Number two, you're seeing the country and you're not paying a dime for it. And then last but not least, and this isn't even the cherry on top, this is the sprinkles on the cake.
The chicks were there.
Paid. Oh. The chicks were there. Okay. And then here's the sprinkles. You get paid for it.
Yeah.
You're making money at this. So maybe talk to some of the younger players out there, or people that like, I'm only going to play the music that I want to play, and they have these blinders on. Why is it important to play music that you don't like? Why is that important, Dan?
That's such a
great question, Mark.
It's really one of the biggest points in music, whether you play clarinet, tuba, xylophone, guitar, drums, bass, harpsichord, whatever. It's really the same, even kazoo. And one of the biggest
I'm a great kazoo player, by the way.
Really?
I'm awesome. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic.
One of the biggest things I've learned interviewing people on Drum Talk TV for 9 years, and this is for you youngsters especially, whomever your musical idols are, their musical idols, for the most part, didn't play the kind of music you see your idols playing. Right. And mostly I think our generation, most of us here, even though there's an age range, but still, we can pretty much say, like when I interviewed Nico McBrain, he didn't follow heavy metal growing up. There was no heavy metal. He's an Iron Maiden, but he was a huge Ringo Starr, Beatles fan. That was his thing. When you talk about Bill Ward from Black Sabbath, Keith Moon, John Bonham, there was no rock music for them to model or learn from. They followed Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich, Sonny, all these guys,
right.
For that reason alone, you should get familiar with who they were familiar with to know where their influences came from. That's one thing. The other reason is if you want to be a working musician on any level, work in as many different types of environments as possible. So if I were to grow up to be a chef, side note, and this has nothing to do with this, actually, I had a cooking show on TV 20 years ago, which is funny that I thought of a chef. But if I'm going to be a chef, I want to be a cook in fast food. I want to work at a diner or a deli, then move to full service. And I want to, you need to learn, you need as many tools in your toolbox as possible. And there's going to be something that Hal Blaine did when that beat breaks in the Fifth Dimension. What's that song? You're going to use something from every genre in any other genre. Just like you don't not learn vowels because you're not speaking Spanish. They're used in Spanish, but they're used in English. They're used in German. They're used in French. It's kind of the same thing. And the more influence you have from music, even I tell people, if you don't like the B-52s, go learn from what they're doing. If you don't like Rush, you hate Geddy's voice, Neil's drumming's too technical, go immerse yourself in stuff you don't like, because you're going to unturn some things that you realize, wait, I heard that over here in this genre, and this lady's playing it that way, and then that all comes together. And when it comes together here and here, it comes together here and your feet.
I remember really Scotty Moore used to complain all the time. He was playing guitar for Elvis Presley. He's like, God, this music is just so, I don't want to, this is horrible. Why am I playing this? And people are like, dude, you play guitar for Elvis Presley. Shut up, go put on your guitar and play the thing,
right.
Yeah. And I mean, now, of course, I was in the 50s and 60s and stuff before, the stuff in the 70s, but my gosh, you kind of have to sometimes, I think, like you said, immerse yourself in other styles of music, stuff that you maybe necessarily don't like. And like you said, you're going to pull from it. It's not,
Here's another example. So Bart mentioned he's into music from the 50s and 60s before the 70s. Surf music was a whole culture on its own. And recently, Don Wilson passed away, the father of surf music and surf music guitaring. Steve Howe of Yes wrote a very touching tribute to him because he was an influence on Steve Howe. Another one of Steve Howe's big influences was Chet Atkinson. I mean, he's got all these influences of very Western and country and almost what I guess could have been called rockabilly back then. And you can hear it in Steve Howe's playing. And yes, so it's just another example. If a drum teacher, if a guitar teacher says, piano teacher, you got to learn jazz, don't think I don't plan on playing jazz, so why do I need to learn it? You need to learn it to play everything else. You need to learn everything to play anything else, really.
Dan, I'm going to put great thoughts, Dan. I'm going to put a camera on my wall in my teaching studio, and I'm going to have you just loop what you just said there for the last 5 minutes, so all my students can hear it.
Cool. I'll do it at my drum set.
Dan, so as you started playing this music that you didn't initially like, did you start getting a better appreciation for it as you started getting inside it? I always say to my students, give the music a chance.
Yeah, here's what's funny, especially perhaps as a drummer, other than individual technique of John Bonham, Phil Collins, these people I was into back then, what I was playing with the ABBA songs and the Linda Ronstadt and the Neil Diamond wasn't really much different. It was the music around it that was different.
Yeah.
I was
thank you.
Right? I was
thank
really
you.
Thank you. Thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. It must have totally developed your listening skills.
It did. And that is such an important trait. Some of us, I think, and I love your guys' take, some of us are born with great listening skills. Sometimes they have to develop. By the time I went on tour, I was playing 20, 30-minute songs by Yes, Genesis, and ELP. And even today, when I do that on Dan's Almost Daily vlog on Drum Talk TV, I'll do a tribute to Alan White. It's 2 hours long, all these long Yes songs. Or Phil Collins, the other day, we did just an hour, but all these long songs. And this question baffles me, but they say, how do you memorize all those long songs with all those crazy changes? And I say, well, let me ask you a question. Are you a gigging drummer? Yep. How many sets do you do a night and how long are they? Oh, we do 3 40-minute sets. So it's the same as memorizing those 18 songs for each set. They're just all stuck together. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
There's that. But I developed my ear by getting to know what every instrument in the song is doing. So you can name any song from any of those bands I just mentioned, and I can sing you the bass part, the guitar part, the keyboard part, and that's your roadmap to always know where they are, the little nuances, the squeak harmonic on the guitar solo, or, the bottomed bass, just there's all these things to understand about what the songs do. And then it's impossible not to remember it because you know every bit about it. You don't just memorize one element of a recipe, right? I'm going to make a cake. I know I need eggs. Well, what about everything else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
And then when you have a terrible monitor and you can't really hear what's going on, the song's in your head.
You can, okay, so let's use Deaf Dan as an example. My hearing is really bad. I don't know why. I've been playing drums 52 years. We have a blended family of 11 kids, 19 grandkids. I don't know why I have poor hearing. But
selective hearing.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what?
Hey, I like Top Fuel drag racing and rock and roll. So I always say if it's loud and it's fast, I'm in.
Yeah.
So you know,
I
get
what
it.
Rick said, when I play on Dan's Almost Daily Vlog and I play all those songs, I'm not playing to the original record because you can't do that. It'll get muted. And I've worked way too hard to build this brand to get our channels taken down for that. So I find bootleg versions. I search the band, the song, live, and the word soundboard. Even still, and especially again with my hearing, sometimes I just can't hear it that well. So I'll because I know the song, and I might even or not know that version really well. I'll lock into one thing, and it's usually the bass. I can turn the bass up on my board a little bit, and I just lock into the bass. As long as I know I'm there and I'm in time and I know how the song goes, I'm good. So it is a very good assistant with that, you know.
Right.
Dan, I'd like to this is all really, really great stuff, man. And I know you're talking from both your experience as a drummer, as a player, and also from having interviewed all these amazing drummers over the course of your, got all this terrific.
Well, a lot of drummers, two amazing ones. No.
What's that? Oh, yeah. Now I gotta go.
Sorry, it took a second, but
And Chip was one of them. Chip's been on my show.
Yeah.
Actually,
Absolutely.
wait a minute. Chip is both of those amazing drummers now that I think of
Hey!
hey.
No, but I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I want to, we've got so much to talk about. I want to pivot a little bit to talk about Drum Talk TV. So for those of us who are listening to the show, those are the people out there that aren't familiar with Drum Talk TV. Tell us just real quick, what is Drum Talk TV? And
I'm still trying to figure that out. No. So Drum Talk TV in the first year became the largest online media company that covers the world of drumming. And
Fantastic.
When I say covers the world of drumming, I truly mean in an all encompassing way. Our tagline is the global heartbeat of the heartbeat of the global drumming community, because other media companies in our space, and bless their hearts, we've worked with a lot of them. I'm friends with all of them. What do? They cover the big rock stars, the big pop stars, the big jazz stars, the big educators, a couple new people, and they review gear. We do all of that except reviewing gear. We do all of that, but we cover events, and some of them cover events, but everything we do is video. We rarely write about something. We cover events, we do documentaries, we do interviews. We have 3 original series. We're developing 2 new series, and we curate content from our fans from all over the world. And that touches on every other element of genres of music. We've got a Gatham clay pot drum in the southern tip of India. We've got tablas in Morocco. We've got jazz drumming in Korea. We did 2 taiko drumming documentaries in Japan 2 years ago. Wow. And it really is everything, and there's something for everybody. And that's kind of why I created it, because I couldn't find everything for what I loved in one place. I didn't even kind of plan on it to be a business at first. I started with an online lesson platform, and I decided to interview a couple fellow educators, and my friends thought I was nuts. Why would you do that? They're competitors, and you guys, if anybody knows, we're not competitors. So I interviewed them. Yeah, and I showed them to my wife, and she said, this is what you should do, because she saw me do interviews in the charter yacht industry, the racing industry. And so she said, and I said, no, this is just another tab on the Dan's Drum Clinic's website. It's all about the drum lessons. Showed it to another friend. He said the same thing. Long story short, 3 months later, I closed Dan's Drum Clinics after 6 months. I opened Drum Talk TV officially, and 2 weeks later covered our first NAMM show, 2013. Showed my friend how to use the big camera in the parking lot. We spent 4 days. It was amazing. And since then, NAMM has rolled out, I don't know if I should say this, the red carpet for us, and basically let me do what I need to do and bring the amount of people I need to bring. And it's been a wild ride, guys. I never planned on being the biggest. I never planned on 1 million fans. We reached 120 million people last year. Wow. And I never planned any of that. All this just kind of unfolded. And in that first year, when it was pointed out to me that we were achieving 900% more online reach and engagement than everybody else. That inspired me to start the marketing training company so that other people can learn this crazy, almost unnavigatable road of content marketing on social media. And I know everybody else teaches this. I know everyone does social media. I know everyone lists that on their LinkedIn skill.
Right.
But what makes me different is I teach it from the perspective of having tremendous results with my own strategies and never paying for boosting posts or running ads even. So that's what makes me different. But yeah, Drum Talk TV, lots of fun. It's still my baby. It's my blood, sweat, and tears. I've busted knuckles on cymbals. I have thrown myself down the stairs. I have cried over Drum Talk TV, and I've put in a lot of sweat, but it has paid off big time, and I'm very, very proud of it. And we're going through a crazy expansion right now in a few different directions. I never thought that, we just celebrated 9 years a few weeks ago, and that just
how many episodes, Dan?
I'll tell you this. When it comes to the interviews, there's probably, if I count NAMM show interviews and interviews done at other events like Singapore Drum Fest 3 years in a row and some other things, if we include that and the normal interviews I do right here from my office or at a venue, there's probably 600 interviews that have not ever made it to our website.
Wow.
But they were broadcasted live on Facebook and then archived also to Instagram, YouTube, Vimeo, and clips on Twitter. So I honestly don't even know. I don't even know how many interviews we've done. I'd guess maybe if we include all the event stuff where I've got a team of 4 or 5 other people doing interviews plus me may have done 823.
Wow.
Around there.
What is count?
Wow.
Yeah, right
Did
around
any of
there.
those interviews stand out in your mind as like what's a couple of your favorite ones that surprised you?
Other than
The Chip Ritter.
the
The
Chip
Chip
Ritter.
Ritter.
Other than Chip.
mine.
Other than Chip. He surprises everybody.
There's a lot of personal favorites because of me as the music fan, because remember, I'm part of the community that we served, and having played drums since I was 7 and growing up listening to Simon and Garfunkel, The Fifth Dimension, watching the Monkees on TV, to interview Hal Blaine at his house. That very first April of our April 2013, it was a 3-hour episode, and I had to break it up into. No, I'm sorry, it was 3 parts, maybe 90 minutes or 2 hours. That was amazing. And then years later, I reached out to him because I had stayed in touch with him, and I said, "Hey, the NAMM show, ends Sunday." Oh, I asked him if he was going to the NAMM show. I'd love for him to come to her, but no, Dan, I'm just too old. I can't get around. I said, well, can I come visit you the day after, that Monday, and do an interview at your house? And he said, absolutely. So we left. We always stay overnight Sunday, have a big team party. And then Monday morning we left. It was myself, my wife, and someone who was working for me at the time came. And we set up 2-camera shoot. We did an interview. And then Hal gave us a tour of his house and showed all his memorabilia. The first episode, he's telling the story about the stamp, Hal Blaine Strikes Again. Do you guys know about that stamp?
Yeah.
So I said, do you still have the stamp? He says, yeah, it's right over there on my desk. I said, will you go get it and stamp my head with it? He says, you want me to stamp? I said, yeah. Be like
No way.
And he walked away shaking his head. Okay. And he comes and gets it. And I have like pictures of it and stuff that we've used, but not for. And he stamped it on my head. And that, my parents.
That's awesome.
Yeah. My parents were gone already. My dad had a term that I'll use. They would have shit a purple cookie if they knew that I did that, let alone the whole Drum Talk TV. So Chip, everybody, that's one of my favorites because it tied me to my parents, But another huge favorite, probably in my top 3 influences, top 4, Ian Pace, and I've interviewed him twice. And he he was just, that's the only interview I've ever been nervous for, ever.
Really?
And yeah. And I asked him, so where should we meet? And he said, just come to my hotel room. And like an idiot, I said, okay, what name do you go under? So I know, he said, Ian Pace. And I said, oh, okay. I just check in. I don't know how security is. So my cameraman, I was living in Vegas at the time. They were playing in town. He was staying. So I asked for his room. They give me his number, or he gave me the room number. So I'm like walking really fast through the casino, and my cameraman Harold says, slow down, relax. Like I can barely keep up with you. He's dragging Pelican cases. I got something under my arm. And we get to the elevator, and I'm like hyperventilating. I'm just so excited. I can't wait. And I'm nervous. And he says, just relax. You've got this elevator flight to just chill. So we get to the door, and I'm like shaking. I'm not like this with people. Believe me, I am not like this with people. When I had my cooking show, I interviewed 3 Tuskegee Airmen. I was this nervous when I spoke to the first one on the phone to set it up, this big show I did with the Air National Guard. So I knock on the door, and the people, I see light shifting. Oh, Harold, he's moving. He's in there. I think he's coming. And the door opens, and I was like so struck. And there's Ian, who I have followed since I was probably 6.5 years old. And I hold his hand out, and he says, hi, Dan, nice to meet you. Mm-hmm. And all of that melted away. Come on in, take your time getting set up. We chit-chatted while Harold was setting up, and he was wonderful. I normally don't bring memorabilia for people to sign other than like drum heads that everyone signs, but I brought something for me. He signed our charity drum heads, but I brought and I did it in the interview, my Machine Head album.
There you go. Yeah.
That folds out. And I said, my mom bought me this when it came out in I think that was 72, maybe 73. And his face lit up, and he just reached for it, and he signed it by his face on the inside. And, nice. that was a big one. So let's see what we got so far. We've got Hal Blaine. I'll fire off a bunch of others. I've known Alan White of Yes since 1989. So when I started Drum Talk TV, I went right to him. Alan's been on probably at least 6-7 times. He got our first award to NAMM, the last live NAMM show, the Prague Legacy Award. And that same day, Carmine Appice got the Rock Legacy Award, our first awards we've ever given. Alan's been very supportive, very kind. Carmine Appice has been there from the very first year, very giving, very supportive. Just interviewed him Saturday. It's on our page. Nico McBrain was fun. Everybody. Steve Gadd finally last year. I think that was last year or the year before. It's been such a blur, right? These last 2 years. Others who may have surprised me. Oh, I'll tell you someone had also some amazing stories. Everybody does, but Chris Slade, who played in The Firm, David Gilmour, all that stuff. He and his wife came to my house in Vegas before the gig for the interview. Often we would do that. We would offer, we'll make you a home-cooked meal, come over for dinner, we'll do the interview, I'll get you back to the venue in time. And a lot of people did that. In fact, Roger Earl of Foghat says my wife makes the best cornbread he's ever had. So there you go. But Chris Slade
What time's dinner? I'm on my way.
Yeah. Chris Slade was great because I'm a huge fan of everything he's done. And one of the surprises in his stories is I didn't know that as a teenager, he sat on top of a school building and watched down the hill some outdoor concert going on of Tom Jones. And he said to his friends, I'm going to play for Tom Jones someday. And that ended up being his break. He was like 17 or 18 years old. And I didn't know that. Another great story is he's at home, phone rings. It's David Gilmour. Hey, I did this album. I'm going out on a tour. Will you come on tour? Absolutely. Him and his wife go to the pub. They celebrate. They come back. The phone rings. Hey, this is Jimmy Page. I've just formed a band with Paul Rogers, and we'd love for you to do the record and come on tour. He says, I just accepted an 18-month tour with David Gilmour. And Jimmy says, that's okay. We'll wait. He says, you'll wait. Can you imagine getting those stories were fun. Chip asked, what surprised me. Funny enough, I think the biggest surprise is that I thought Chris Slade was like 6'4". he's my height, and I'm like 5'7" 3/4 now that I've lost my hair and have all these kids. I used to be 5'8.5", and we were this. I'm like eye to eye. I'm like, what? That really surprised me. But I've learned a lot from the interviews, and I hope people watching the interviews learn a lot. It's all about. So the tagline, not the tagline, but the explanation of Drum Talk TV came up when people started asking me, why are you going to interview fellow educators? And I said, well, because I think that lessons can be learned, not just sitting at a practice pad or a drum set, but from our unique perspectives based on our unique experiences, just talking about drumming like we are. And so that's how it was born, really out of that philosophy. And I do my best to conduct the interviews, not just saying, so what do you got going on? What's happening? When's the tour? I asked them, where did you start? Why the drums? Do you play any other instruments? There's a handful of questions I ask every time, and then 80% of it is just unique to where the conversation goes. I don't use notes. None of my people use notes. It's not a interrogation. It's a conversation, and that's where the gold comes out of, when people just like we are sharing our own. Well, I don't know if there's any gold in what I'm saying, but you know what I mean. Typically, there's some gold nuggets that come out when we share our stories.
Well, that's the way that we do this show. It's just like, it's very organic, and it's just where the conversation leads. And I think that that makes for a great interview. And one of the things I'm getting from you is you had no idea this was going to happen. You just did it out of the same reason that you started playing the drums. It's because you had passion for it, and you like fell in love. Hey, I want to play the drums. That looks great. That's what I want to do. I saw Zeppelin, I saw Bonham. That's what I want to do. Well, you never know where it's going to take you. That's one of the things I share with every student I have. You may have a vision of what you want to do with the drums,
dream, and
you may be going that way, but it's going to be this zigzag of a road. I never thought in my wildest imagination. Success. Yeah, what's that cartoon Success? You saw success like this, but it's
exactly
so many failures, and I think that's fantastic. You followed your heart, you followed your passion, you followed the drums, and here we are today.
Yeah, and I had, when I was younger, out of high school, I didn't go to college. I almost went to Cal Arts, but I was gigging. I started recording. I started producing. I grew up playing up and down the Sunset Strip in Hollywood, played all over the San Fernando Valley, chased the record deal. And after a while, I went into corporate America and got away from music for a while. And then Dan's Drum Clinics came about after I came back from working in Australia for a couple of years with my marketing company and video company. And I told my wife, I don't want to work with big companies anymore. Let me just do your marketing. She's a professional artist and a art therapist. I did that for a while. And she came to me and said, you really need to find something that fills your cup. I saw this thought bubble that said, this fucker needs to find someone else to play with. Like, I think it was just getting a little, and I didn't know what to do. Yeah, I was 49 years old, had no idea what I wanted to do. And she said, well, you told me you used to teach drums. Why don't you teach drums? And in that moment, I realized I am a trained trainer. I'm a trained trainer of neurolinguistic programming. So I know how to train people. I know streaming video. I have a video production company. And I'm a drummer. So I started Dan's Drum Clinics, and that's kind of the prequel to the rest of that story I told you. And I'm probably going to be the first guest that's ever said, do you mind talking behind my back for a moment while I go use the little boys' room? This diabetes is a killer sometimes.
No,
you bet.
Go.
Yeah, there's one thing the four of us know how to do. It's just talk.
Yeah. Hey, Rick, I stepped on you a minute ago. I apologize for that.
Oh, it's totally fine. I like that we're unedited and that we're a real live show and it's conversational. And
absolutely,
great point.
Let's go ahead and say hi to Sharon Ransom.
Hey, Sharon.
Terry Collins Grimes.
Sure.
Hi, guys. Thanks for watching. Jim Royal, Josh Posey's in the house. We haven't had
Jim,
any questions, but we appreciate you watching.
Jim, did you get you just type it in the comments. Did you get the Brush DVD? I sent it out last week. I was just curious about that. I want to make
Jim
sure
Royal,
you got that.
did you get the Brush DVD? Type it in the comments.
Yes.
Hey,
So anyway,
who's on next week?
Tony Pia. Tony.
Pia.
The big bad Tony Pia. Tony is, if you guys don't know who Tony is, Tony has played for the Brian Setzer Orchestra, for Maynard Ferguson, for the Doobie Brothers, for oh my gosh, he's played for everybody, and the guy's just a fantastic drummer. So he's on next week. And no, not yet, he said. I sent it out, so you should have it. The check's in the mail, Jim.
So Dan, Dan,
Dan's back.
I'm sorry. Go, Dan. Advanced social marketing. You run a company that teaches people how to really get involved with their social marketing.
Right.
So in a way, that's kind of like technology, right? You're anointing people with your technology.
Yeah, you got it in.
He got it in. He got it in.
With all of this technology and social media in the world today and how things are going, we've had this episode before where we asked the question, do you think drummers are getting better? So I want to ask you, do you think drummers as a whole are getting better?
Yes, and I think to add to that, Chip, I think drummers are getting, for the most part, better and more skilled much more quickly at much younger ages. We post a lot of kids between 3 and 10 that are just monsters. Like they were dropped off by flying saucers for effing sure. I mean, I'm not as good as I was growing up. I was really good, and I was rehearsing with a band 4 nights a week, doing at least a gig. I was recording on the side. I mean, I was living, breathing, crapping, drumming. And the kids I see today, these little kids, are way beyond anything I've ever done.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just it's really interesting. So the access that we have and that kids have, whether it's to music or learning about gardening, or we recently got a puppy and, we're studying on his breed. The access today is something that the generations that didn't have this kind of access, that don't know any different, they'll never understand or wrap their heads around what the world must have been like, not being able to see a video of Buddy Rich or John Bonham or Tommy Aldridge or Gene Krupa or Ian Pace at a snare drum, just demonstrating all the rudiments. And, you had to put on a record and do your best guess from what you learned of what's going on there,
right.
And
see a show. You got to put on a record and see a show. That was it.
Yeah. And how often did we see stuff? And it wasn't, there wasn't Drum Talk TV, Drumeo, Drum Channel, all these visual, let alone individuals that can have channels. You know what? It's interesting because I used to wonder, like, why, this is a stupid question, but why do people get so excited about being on a magazine cover when we're reaching so many more people live online? And the reason I figured it out is simple. Not everyone gets to be on a magazine cover, but anyone can go online.
Oh, that makes sense.
So the technology has made it so that not only do drummers get better more quickly, and learn a lot more in a shorter amount of time and broaden their toolbox, hopefully, right, guys? But they can also get their own channel and have their own network, like we do.
Yeah.
Well, I think the magazine cover too, before there was a social media, that was what social media was in a way. That was the media, right? So we all grew up. Yeah. That was sort of the pinnacle of your achievement, was making the cover of Modern Drummer.
Right.
And for our generation, I mean, for me, that's still like, wow, you're big time if you make the cover of Modern Drummer,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Dan.
Does Modern Drummer still do magazines? I don't think they do magazines anymore.
I think they do.
They're still printing. Yeah.
Hey, Dan. So I don't know that anyone has ever interviewed more drummers than you in history. And
possibly
I'm curious,
not.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, I know Don Famulero's interviewed a lot of people, and Nick Raffini at Drummers Resource is a great podcast and all. But is there a commonality that you see within all these drummers? Is there a secret sauce? Is there a magic? Like how do they do it?
Yes, there is. And I'm going to also include not just the big successful stars that we all know, but I've interviewed probably 20% of our interviews have been people that we've found, I've discovered, or they come to us and we curate their content and they do really well and they have just something real special. So I'm going to include them too, because I've interviewed them as well.
Yeah.
But you take everybody, there's a few things. There's something I find extremely common, a group of characteristics amongst all drummers and percussionists, no matter what ethnic background they're from or anything. And that is that they all typically have a great sense of humor.
Mhm.
We typically all like to geek out on gear. And we also, unlike most other musicians of instruments, we like to share and we don't have secrets. You know, like, oh, let me show you how I did that. You know, oh, wow, what a cool kit. Yeah, you want to try. You know what I mean? There's that whole camaraderie. It's more communal than any other instrument, I think.
Any thoughts as to why that's true?
I think, yes. I'm going to use the analogy that I've known a lot of firefighters through the course of my many years, my whole life. And one thing I've noticed about a lot of firefighters is that they're very much into usually the outdoors. They probably ride motorcycles or ATVs. They like to go camping. You know, there's these certain things. And I think that drummers are kind of the firefighters of the musicians, because we typically, being that we're the most physical players, right? Even on a 4-piece jazz kit, even bass drum and marching band, we're the most physical players of any instrument. And because I think we've gravitated towards that for two reasons. One, we're more physical. Typically people who are more physical do like the outdoors, or they just like being about and doing things. But quite frankly, there's a lot of, circling back to lessons, there's a lot of people who became drummers because they didn't want to learn music theory and they didn't think they needed to know what key something's in. And it kind of subtracted this whole layer, and maybe they thought it's easier to become a really good drummer than a really good pianist or saxophone player, because I don't want to learn music theory, scales, keys. What the hell is that? I just want to bang a drum and go boom, you know. But that's kind of common, but not as common as the first thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that you can almost tell if you said, okay, we're going to let 5 people at a time, and there's got to be 5 drummers, 5 bass players, 5 keyboard players, 5 guitarists, and 5 lead singers. And you're not going to know who's coming in the room. They're all going to go sit at a different booth. Your job is to identify who are the drummers. I think most people can tell, even if they're not drummers. We are just more down to earth, nicer. We have super hyper intelligence. So obviously we're going to be the smartest ones in the room.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
We have the least amount of ego, because why do we need an ego when we know how great we are, right?
We don't exactly. Totally. I couldn't agree more. Keep going.
And you know, we are grateful for our backup band that we also actually position to play in front of us to block all the lingerie that gets thrown at us.
That's true.
That's true. You know, that's how giving we are, you know.
Hotel keys.
And I do think that drummers are very giving people for the most part as well. I do.
That's right. I went to a Ronnie Tutt concert once, and this guy in a white jumpsuit with sparkles all over it kept getting in front of him. Drove me nuts, man. That was the first concert I went to, and I was like, dude, get out of the way. I can't see Ronnie. You know?
That's hilarious.
So, Dan, there's a couple. There's going to be eventually, if not right now, there's going to be some younger drum students watching this video. Especially, I know my students are going to be watching this because it's a great show for them to broaden their horizons.
Yeah.
Can you give us some advice to the younger drummer today? Any kind of advice you would give to a younger drummer?
Number one, if you take lessons, listen to and do everything your teacher says. That's number one. And bring cookies. That's number 2. The other thing is kind of touching on, what we talked about earlier. Let me actually, before that, listen to your teacher, do what your teacher says, do the work and get results. Just like anything else. I say that with what I teach. You got to show up, do the work, get results. You got to apply yourself. Nothing's easy. You got to put the work in and make it fun. Enjoy it. The other thing is what we talked about earlier. listen to all kinds of music, no matter what you're into, because whatever you're into didn't come from whatever you're into. It came from something else. And it's important to do that. It's important to listen to music that you might not like. And I do think that it's important to also understand how other instruments work and learn the scales and learn the keys so that you understand. You're not, sitting in the corner while the rest of the band is talking about something, whereas if you knew about that, you could bring value to that instead and offer a different key change, or, hey, how about if we learn the language of music, all of it, not just part of it. And I think those are some of the most important things, especially bringing cookies for Chip.
Right.
And it does come back to what, a little bit of what you're saying, like maybe drummers didn't want to learn theory, but at the same time, there is a point where you do kind of go, yeah, I've got to know some of this stuff. Even if you don't immerse yourself in deep theory, you still have to have a little bit of music theory, I think, to make your career go a little bit further.
Understand the language in order to speak the language.
Exactly.
And it works that way with any instrument, I think,
Yeah. Well, I always tell my students, any new student, I tell them I think it's so important to read, because let's say we all decided we're going to take a Spanish class, and we're going to take this Spanish class. We're not going to just tell the teacher, look, I just want to speak it. I don't want to read it and write it. I just want to speak Spanish. Yeah,
Well, I would assert also that in learning theory, you're not just learning, the conversation that the other musicians are having. It's going to make you a better drummer.
Yeah,
understanding more of what's going on. It's like, if you don't know any of that other stuff, you got the blinders on. You can play drums really well, but you're not seeing how certain things are fitting together in the music. And if you do, it's going to influence how you play and how you approach your part.
Absolutely. Don't learn just the rhythmic math. You got to learn the melodic math to do exactly what Jeremy's saying, really understand what's going on around you, but also affect it. And it will make your playing better.
Yeah. And I got another quick question. With Drum Talk TV and advanced social marketing, what's the next thing you're looking forward to? What's really cool that's coming up and we should watch Drum Talk TV for?
So on Drum Talk TV, there's going to be some new ways blossoming for people to get involved with what we do, not just by submitting videos and us approving certain ones and putting them up, but we're going to be having some, I don't know what the right word is, contests, competition, technically competition.
Okay.
Excuse me, been up forever. And so 2 years ago, we were going to have the first Drum Talk TV retreat, and it was going to have Cindy Blackman, Walfredo, awesome, and the other guy from Chicago. And I just can't think of, sorry.
Trish.
Yeah.
Trish.
And also, who else was going? Oh, Peter Lockett was going to join us, and Bermuda Schwartz was going to be my co-host. We were going to do this in Bermuda. My wife and I spent a week and a half in Bermuda, December of 2019, scouting out the location. We talked to the Board of Tourism. We had this whole thing planned out to do the first week of June of 2020, but the pandemic came. So we're getting back to planning some interesting retreats that will be fun and where you can play and learn from some of your industry peers that are big time. And we're working on different location ideas. We've got the program basically designed, but we're playing with some ideas as well as for, and there's a couple other things coming with Drum Talk TV later in the year that I don't want to talk about yet, only because they're not solidified. I want to solidify them. Yeah, exactly. And we're a lot of interviews with new people we've never had on are on the calendar. And for advanced social marketing, for my social media on steroids stuff, I'm planning a high-level retreat that'll actually take place. It's planned to take place on a luxury yacht, actually. Not a cruise ship, but like a yacht for like 30, 40 people, something like that. And something that is new with social media on steroids is I now teach it in mastermind groups. So for years, 9 years almost, I taught it one-on-one with companies and entrepreneurs. Now I'm teaching it in groups, and it's a whole different experience. I did that because my wife and I bought into this program that was a mastermind group thing. It just blew the top of my head off. Why aren't I teaching like this? And I have people from different industries. It's a 12-week program, and you have access to the forever growing library of the weekly Monday Q&A sessions with me for a year. So
okay, that's
with
cool.
12 2-hour modules that you can attend or just get the archive. And then there's, for the rest of 12 months, there's Monday Q&As where people can ask anything. And often it turns into additional modules. And it's a very robust program that I really, really enjoy doing. I just love teaching. But I've only got one drum student right now, and I'm more teaching into this. And honestly, the only reason I have a drum student is because, again, we live in a small town. They knew somebody. He's a jazz drummer. How backwards is this? He's a jazz drummer. He's 15, wanted to learn rock music. So the parents said, okay, so that the dad hangs out. We do the lesson. I have 2 drum sets, my big, stupid, ridiculous one and a 4-piece kit. And he's done maybe 9 lessons with me, and we're just now starting to learn the 2007 live in Rome Genesis concert version of Los Endos. Because it's a double show. So we're learning that together right now, just starting it. But I love teaching. I love what I do with advanced social marketing. And I did for a while have specifically some workshops just for musicians, but now I have just the book series. This is volume 1. There's 3. There's going to be 7 more, and it has it's only, these are so bite sized even a drummer couldn't digest it. It's 36 pages, but there's a lot of like pictures, examples, and lists. Is to get people how to understand the psychology of marketing, how to do content marketing, how to do content marketing on social media, and what some of the algorithms are to dance around on the biggest platforms. Because I hate to say this, but everybody says they do social media. Almost no one knows how to do it. Everyone's using the wrong hashtags. I could go on and on and on and on. And my mission is to really enlighten people and stop following everyone over the cliff who's doing it wrong, because everyone's doing it wrong. I have 7 students that recently took an online test, and all they knew is they were going to take a test together one at a time. I didn't tell them what it was going to be, but it's to measure your aptitude. So here we go. So I would go, so Darman, you're first. Darman, pick a brand that's one of the biggest brands that you follow, and we're going to go to their social channels, and you're going to tell us all, what are they doing right, if anything? What are they doing completely wrong, and what are they totally missing out on? All 7 students passed with an A+. They know more than the brands and the agencies doing the work for Subway restaurants, Salvation Army, Toyota, North Face, and I forgot the other 3. 2 were fashion, and 1 was some thought leader I had never heard of. And that's what I teach. No one else provides that. No one else teaches that on that level. And I hate to say this, but I could teach you, well, I don't hate that part. I could teach you more than, and I hate to say this, more than any of the big brand instrument companies know out there, more than any music store knows out there. They are all ruining it. They don't know how to do it. And that's what I provide. So folks, this is super cheap. It's literally like a few dollars on Amazon, like not even more than 1 digit on the left side of the decimal point. Get this. Here, can I just read some quick testimonials?
What's it called again?
Sure.
Yeah.
What's it called again, Dan?
It's called Social Media Marketing for Musicians That Works, and there's 3 volumes. And the subtext says, a guide to breaking the cycles of everything you don't know you're doing wrong.
There you go.
Here's some testimonials. What we learned from Dan, it helped us get our new album crowdfunded. Linda Arcello Earl, manager of Foghat. With what Dan has helped us with and what we learned with ticket sales, retreat. It has helped with ticket sales to retreats and more. Billy Cobham. Do you guys know Billy Cobham?
Yeah, Billy Cobham.
I think I've heard that name.
Okay. What we learned from Dan's social media on steroids course has helped us with promoting our debut album, Troy Lucetta of Seville Row and Tesla. When Seville Row. And there's a, how about this one? You know this guy. Where'd it go? Oh, in 3 weeks, I went from reaching 114 people a week to 186,000. My video views from 3 video views a week to 41,000. Doug Miola. You know who Doug is?
Oh, yeah. The drum
Right?
spot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great guy up in Canada. American guy up in Canada. So, yeah, it's the real deal. For those of you who have gear, from applying what I learned from Dan, by July 2016, my sales were 240% higher than all of 2015. Philip Gelb, Phoenix Drum Company. So the tagline for my company to be "This shit works," but my wife said you can't do that. So it works if you apply exactly what I teach, exactly how I teach it, and there's no way it won't work. And I really enjoy it. I teach it in music, health and wellness, dental tech, real estate training. I've worked with 4 dealerships, McDonald's, Citibank, Wells Fargo, Sydney to Hobart, Yacht Race. It works. Just do it. Check it out. Can I give out the website for both of them?
Please.
Absolutely.
Yes,
I put the website in the comments on Facebook, but give it out so people on YouTube can see it.
Okay, cool. So this is the book is available on Amazon. Just look up my name, Dan Shinder. No C, no L. It's Shinder. Shinder. And there's a website for it, which is www.socialmediamarketingformusicians.com. It'll tell you more about the books. My bigger marketing business is advancedsocialmarketing.com. And if you go to the website, you can learn all about my acumen, why I'm qualified to be the one doing this. And you can also look at learning opportunities and read about my masterclass mastermind groups. And if you're interested, there's a form to fill out. I'll set up a one-on-one interview with you myself to see if it's a fit for you. But also, if you sign up for the email list there, I'll give you the first 2 modules from my course. Everything's video, and they're all about 2 hours long. So that's 4 free hours putting up with me, but learning a lot of things to get your new year started right, coming out of the pandemic, sell more tickets, sell more shirts, sell more swag, get more butts in seats, get more students, sell more education material. And if you're not even in music or you want to use this for something else, it'll work for that too. So
our friend Jim Royal just commented that he just bought all the books. Let's go.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you very much. I might come out with a coloring book and a cookbook too.
Nice.
Well, you know what, Dan, this has been fantastic. We want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
In closing, for myself, I just want to say thank you so very much. This has been incredibly entertaining, incredibly informative. I think the biggest thing that I'm taking away from it is not just your passion for drumming and educating people and wanting to help people, but just your confidence, just the fact that you're like, hey, you wanted your tagline to be "This shit works." I mean, that's absolutely fantastic. And I think that carries hugely to students, no matter what you do. And you've got to learn, but at the same time, you've got to be confident in your ability and your skill set as a salesperson almost sometimes.
Yeah. And be realistic too. Yeah. You know, I hope my confidence doesn't come off as cocky or pompous
at all.
Or anything.
Not at all.
It's from the results. And we all should always be realistic with where we are. You know, thanks, Bart. I appreciate that.
One of the things I wanted to say before we close is just, you know, we've like, as we mentioned, we've had maybe 65 shows so far. And maybe out of those, we've interviewed, I don't know, 40 drummers or something like that, and industry people. And one of the things that I've taken away from seeing all these successful people that they have in common is that A, they're passionate about what they do, and B, they're doing what it seems like they're supposed to be doing. And, you know, and C, they all have integrity, and D, a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're just a terrific example, you know, not just of a guy who's, you know, realized some of his dreams as a drummer, but sort of figured out what he was supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
And just said to you, look, Dan, you should be doing that. You should be interviewing people. You're really good at it. And you knew when she said it, that was the right thing for you, right?
It does feel right. Yeah.
And you're a teacher, you're a communicator, you're a community leader.
Yeah.
And you've built a really terrific, not just a business, but really like an online community, a worldwide community. Drum Talk TV, and it's just so great. It brings such great, enriching aspects to all of our lives as drummers. So thank you for everything you're doing.
And thank you, Dan.
Thanks for spreading and sharing so generously all your knowledge, through your social media stuff and helping raise all musicians.
Thank you. Can I plug one more thing? I forgot.
Sure.
I created a campaign called Drumming Away Diabetes. I was diagnosed, this June will be 2 years. I was diagnosed out of nowhere that I had very severe diabetes. And I've since been able to manage it to a degree, but I was also invited to be on the board of directors of the Arizona and New Mexico pod for the American Diabetes Association. So this is something that's really close to me. Well, it is me. I have diabetes, but I mean, it's something I really want to reach out. And if there's any drummers out there that have diabetes or you've been affected by it in your family somehow, there is a way for you to get involved. And if you look at a lot of our posts, if you look at the big cover image on our Facebook page and look through the description, somewhere in there, there's the link and everything for the campaign, Drumming Away Diabetes. And when you see us advertise about submit your videos to be featured on Drum Talk TV, there's something in there about it as well. It's all, intertwined. And I'd love to get more and more drummers on board to help us raise money for the American Diabetes Association, because what we raise money for is more affordable care, more affordable medication, and even just other stuff, blood testing kits. I have a long sleeve shirt on, but I have so this week it's right there. It's about the size of a quarter, and it's a sensor that I shoot into my arm. It has a needle, and I change it every 2 weeks. And I have an app on my phone, and without pricking my finger any time of day, I could just scan that, look at what my blood sugar is. We help raise money so that people who can't afford these things at all and don't have insurance can get it. But it's also for research and everything else. March 6th in Arizona here, there's a Tour de Cure. In fact, there might be one nationwide. I don't even know that, but I know ours is here in Phoenix. It's a bike ride-a-thon thing, and there's always something like that going on. And if you ever want to contribute $1, $5, not to me, not to Drum Talk TV, but to the campaign, it's always going to go towards something, and you don't have to wait for an event. So ours is an ongoing campaign that we just started. So please check it out.
That's cool.
Excellent, Dan.
Good for you, Dan. That's awesome.
Good for you. Sorry that
Thank you so much, Dan.
diagnosed with. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's
Dan,
okay. It's helped a lot. Yes.
Dan, you make me want to be a drummer.
Oh,
I gotta
wow. I am beyond
and all that, man. Yeah. No, really, seriously, thank you for all you do for the drumming community and your passion.
You too. I love your show. You guys are, the discussion and the guests, and you're doing it, and it's great to see more of us out there doing this, and you guys are doing a great job. It's really cool. Keep doing it, and if there's anything I can do to help, let me know.
Oh, Dan, thanks so much. Yeah.
And you're welcome back anytime you'd like.
Yeah, we'll have you back for sure.
Thanks. I just need to have lunch, and then no, just kidding.
And then we'll do it at 1 o'clock.
Part 2.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks, Dan Shinder, so much for coming on. We loved having you on. Really, really great show. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much, guys.
Bye.